Family opens mom's coffin sometime recently. Her burial service and sees she's lively. Can you envision losing an adored one and whereas you're at their burial service, they wake up and inquire you to open their coffin? It appears incredible. But accept me, it's happened. Today's story tells us of an occasion as shocking because it is aggravating, which took place fair a number of weeks prior, within the locale of Babahoyo, Ecuador. An occasion that will make indeed the foremost skeptical person's hair stand on conclusion, and will make you accept in marvels once more. Indeed, in the event that, as it were, for a couple of minutes. It all begun on June 9, 2023, when Bella Montoya, an elderly lady over 90, a long-time ancient, was within the patio of her house watering her plants. Bella was an elderly lady and had her share of well-being issues. Normal for somebody her age. But she had never been seriously sick. Nor had she ever had to experience surgery in a clinic. It was outlandish to assume how much her good fortune and well-being would change in a couple of hours. Montoya was a pleased mother of 5 children and 8 grandchildren, the final of whom was as it were 8 months ancient, and all of whom lived within the same neighborhood in Babahoyo. It was a huge family living in a humble put. But they were cheerful there and didn't require much to live and feel blessed with what life had given. They all worked within the family trade, offering basic supplies at a slow down within them. Advertised called Dona Bella. It didn't make them wealthy. Distant from it, but with what they earned day by day between all of them, they seemed survive. Mrs. Montoya got to be the head of the family after her spouse, Julian, kicked the bucket a long time prior from lung cancer. Everybody regarded and adored her. So when Bella Montoya fell sick and required something, everybody hurried to her help. In any case, on the morning this story took put, the family was working at the advertise and couldn't offer assistance her as rapidly as they would have enjoyed. As I said prior, Bella Montoya was watering the plants in her yard, something she continuously did each morning and which brought her an extraordinary bargain of peace. In any case, when she bowed down to water one of her rose bushes, the ancient lady taken note of cutting torment in her chest that totally paralyzed her. She had never experienced that kind of torment sometime recently. Bella Montoya got to be exceptionally startled and attempted to sit down on an adjacent chair to capture her breath and see in case the torment would die down. But it didn't. The torment expanded, and she started to feel the complete right side of her body gotten to be paralyzed. Bella felt her entire body go numb, which made her freeze. The ancient lady couldn't keep in mind on the off chance that any of her children were at domestic. She recalled they had to take off exceptionally early that morning to go to the showcase to choose up and used stock. But she trusted that one of them would return early. Goodness God, I can't feel my arm or my hand. It harms so much. Gilbert, Anna, Pedro. Is anybody domestic? Offer assistance me, if you don't mind. I think I'm passing on, yelled the lady with all her quality, so that somebody would listen her and come to her aid. But no one could listen her. The house was purged, and she was getting worse and more awful. The torment in her chest kept expanding, and in spite of the fact that she attempted her best to remain wakeful whereas calling for help, at last the torment got the superior of her, and she misplaced awareness. Fortunately, her eldest child, Gilbert, arrived domestic just 15 minutes after the lady misplaced awareness and was able to assist her. Mother, can you listen me? What happened to you? Mother. Reply me, if you don't mind, Gilbert yelled as uproariously as he seemed, whereas gently slapping her cheek to induce her to wake up. But it had no impact. His mother was still oblivious and didn't appear to respond to any jolts. When he checked her beat, he might see that her heart was still beating. But at such a slow rate that it was nearly subtle. Gilbert was exceptionally startled to see his mother in such a state. And as he knew that the rescue vehicle would take a long time to reach, he chosen to require her to the closest healing center himself so that she may be treated as before long as conceivable. He carried his mother in his arms and took her to the back situate of his truck. He carefully laid her down, and after that rushed to the healing center. There was no time to squander. His mother was biting the dust, and he had to do everything he seemed to anticipate it. Gilbert drove at full speed and took his mother to the Martini Casa Clinic in Babahoyo, Ecuador. When he arrived there, a handful of medical attendants surged his mother on a stretcher to go to her. Bella Montoya was grief-stricken, and whereas holding up within the crisis hallway, he called the rest of his kin to tell them what had fair happened. Whereas going to Bella, Gilbert exhorted the specialists that Montoya endured from hypertension and heart issues but had never endured any major torment. My mother may be an exceptionally solid lady. She has got to take pills for her blood weight and heart. But like all individuals her age, I do not know what seem have happened to her. Spare my mother, it would be ideal if you. She's the column of our family, he argued in tears to the medical attendants who gone to her within the crisis room. Tragically, none of them may tell him what he was trusting to listen. As strong as his mother is, we can't forget she's 93, a long time ancient. At that age, any day may be her final. I'm too bad. But we are able as it were hold up for the specialist who's treating her to come out and educate us of her condition. I'm too bad, I can't tell you anything else. Sir, said one of the medical attendants, attempting to support him but not succeeding. Tragically, after more than an hour of agonized holding up, the specialists who gone to Bella Montoya may as it were affirm her passing and offer their condolences. Tragically, your mother passed absent from a heart assault. At her age and given the length of time she'd been oblivious, the harm caused was as well incredible, and it demonstrated incomprehensible to resuscitate her. We're exceptionally too bad for your misfortune. Communicated clinic authorities to Montoya's family. Thank you for attempting, specialist. I know you've done everything conceivable to spare my mother, said Gilbert to the specialists, broken with pain at the news. After planning all the healing center printed material and marking the passing certificate expressing that Bella Montoya had kicked the bucket of a heart assault, the family said approximately planning for her burial service the another day. Be that as it may, none of them might have envisioned them surprising occasions that would take put that exceptionally day. All of Bella Montoya's children contributed to pay for the burial service costs, which would be exceptionally unassuming, and held in a little town church. Bella was a really devout lady and was a normal at her ward. Faith was exceptionally critical to her, and her family knew it. Her final goodbye might not be something else, and the family contributed all her reserve funds, so they seemed carry it out as she would have needed. I couldn't care less, almost the cash right presently, sister. She's our mother, and she merits a memorial service to coordinate. I know she would be pleased, Gilbert told his sister Anna. She and Gilbert were the most seasoned of 5 kin, and the heads of the family presently that their mother was gone. I concur with you, expensive brother. She's the one who thinks presently. Our mother merits everything, replied Anna, attempting to hold back her tears and embracing her brother firmly. On the morning of the taking after day, and without having wrapped up absorbing what had happened, Bella Montoya's burial service started. The devout ceremony interior the church was gone to as it were by relatives and near companions of the family. But when they cleared out, carrying the coffin on their shoulders to bury her in the cemetery. They found that all the neighbors had wanted to pay their regards to Bella Montoya and say their last farewells. "She was an incredible lady, what an incredible distress," said a neighbor as the coffin passed by. "The neighborhood will never be the same without the humor and bliss of Bella Montoya." "God favor her," yelled another energized neighbor, holding back her tears with a dark cloth. The family expressed gratitude toward the neighborhood for their back and proceeded on their way to the cemetery in outright hush. Everything was going agreeing to arrange. Until the impossible happened. Thump. Thump. Dry thumps coming from interior the coffin broke this hush. Everybody looked at each other in skepticism. "It's coming from interior the coffin. It's Montoya's phantom," said one of the neighbors, indicating to the coffin with a panicked "C." "Do not conversation babble. It can't conceivably come from there. It must have been our creative energy." "We're all tired," Gilbert answered, exceptionally irritated, attempting to disregard the neighbor's comment. "Come on. Let's keep strolling. It's still a long way to the cemetery." Everyone started strolling once more, attempting to overlook what had happened. When all of a sudden the sound came once more. This time louder, the thumping. This time, there was no question, the sound was coming from interior the coffin. Everybody listened, the thumping uproarious and clear. "Get it on the ground. Come on, rush up. Let's open it and discover out what's going on." Gilbert yelled to his brothers to lower the coffin to the ground, so they might check in case their mother was truly lively or if, on the opposite, it was somebody attempting to play an awful joke on them. But it was not a common-sense joke, it was a real miracle. The ancient lady who had been declared dead, as it were a couple of hours prior, had begun slamming on the wooden surface of the coffin with all her might, trusting that somebody would listen her, and so they did. Montoya's family rapidly opened the coffin and was shocked to see that the elderly woman was still lively. No one may accept that. Montoya was still breathing indeed, in spite of the fact that she had been pronounced dead. The circumstance was particularly terrifying since the clinic had indeed issued them a passing certificate, indicating the cause and time of passing. No one caught on what was happening. Bella Montoya's lively. "We ought to offer assistance. Her out of there," said one of her children after looking interior the coffin and seeing that the grandma had a beat and was breathing intensely. Fortunately, one of the participants at the burial was able to record everything with his cell phone. And the minute they opened the coffin, they found the ancient lady was alive. This video is presently circulating through social systems, and the complete world seen Montoya's supernatural occurrence. Or at slightest, that's what they called it after. It got to be a viral video in fair a couple of hours. As before long as they realized Montoya was still lively, the family hurried to call the crisis administrations for offer assistance. When they called 911, they were told they would be called back since there was no emergency vehicle accessible at the minute. In spite of not accepting prompt therapeutic consideration, the family did everything they might to assist her and make her feel superior. The lady was exceptionally confused and scarcely opened her eyes. But she didn't appear to feel any torment and indeed responded to hearing her children's voices. At last, half an hour after being taken out of the coffin and clearly steady, a rescue vehicle arrived and took her to the clinic for prompt treatment and to evaluate her state of well-being. For her family and everyone present at the memorial service, seeing her breathing after being announced dead and nearly buried was nothing brief of a wonder. The elderly lady gotten treatment within the hospital's seriously care unit, whereas her video started to pick up web notoriety, getting to be the foremost seen video in a matter of hours. The effect of the video was so noteworthy that indeed the nearby media picked up on the unusual incident and broadcasted the news all over the nation. My mother is on oxygen, her heart is steady, and everything shows she'll recuperate. The specialist squeezed her hand, and she responded, which may be a great sign since it implies she's slowly making strides. Uncovered her child to one of the neighborhood writers, who went to the healing center to meet the family. He included at the conclusion, "Presently I as it were inquire that my mother's well-being moves forward. I need her lively and by my side." As news of Montoya's marvel circulated locally, individuals requested an examination into what happened at the clinic that treated her. Both the open and the family needed a sensible clarification for what happened and how their mother was lively after the specialists had announced her dead the day sometime recently. Nowadays, a month after the occasion, it is still vague what happened. The healing center declined to create any official explanation, but a few reports by restorative specialists recommend that Montoya may have endured from catalepsy. Catalepsy could be an uncommon disorder amid which the body remains lethargic for delayed periods of time, making the sufferer appear dead. Right now, Bella Montoya has returned to live at domestic with her family and is in steady condition. Her heart is sensitive, but she is beneath much stricter restorative control to avoid another heart assault. Her family is monstrously cheerful to have her back with them and appreciate her company, particularly after they were around to bury her lively, and thought she had cleared out them until the end of time. Her story reminds us that life is exceptionally brief, and we ought to cherish our cherished ones to the fullest, since any day can be the last. Although that's not the case of the miraculous Bella Montoya, her story may be a confirmation to the unusualness of life. In the event that you delighted in this touching and shocking story, we welcome you to take off your comment communicating your supposition. On the off chance that you need to proceed getting a charge out of motivating stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other recordings appeared at the foot of the screen. Thank you for your participation.